This to me is a good example of the kind of dilemma that we face in the hard reading module is that the questions are not in order of difficulty. So there's going to be easy ones and mixed in with hard ones, and you're just going to have to kind of feel it out. Here, I can tell it's not really much of a science claim. I love these kinds of questions that have the support weekend. They're time consuming sometimes, but I usually understand them because the question itself is pointing us to a specific spot to really focus on. So even though I'm reading the whole passage, there's like a place where I'm like, that's the thing that I really need to keep in mind. So this to me is an easy question. Let me show you why. Almost all works of fiction contain references to the progression of time, including the time of day when events in a story take place. In a 2020 study, all these people claim that an observable pattern in such references reflects a shift in human behavior prompted by the spread of electric lighting in the late 19th century. So I don't know if that's their conclusion yet, but the researchers drew this conclusion. Okay, well, there you go, right? Patterns and references reflect a shift in human behavior because of electric lights in the late 19th century. The researchers drew this conclusion from an analysis of more than 50,000 novels spanning many centuries and cultures, using software to recognize and tally both specific time references, that is clock phrases such as 7 a.m. or 2:30 p.m., and implied ones such as mentions of meals typically associated with a particular time of day, right? So I think, they're not really coming out and saying it, but your conclusion is supposed to be that there be more clock references later because clocks are powered by electricity. So, there you go. It's not even just that. There's more to it, but let's take a look at the choices, right? So we want to support the idea that there is some sort of change. Electricity equals change. So A, novels published after the year 1800 include the clock phrase 10 a.m. less often than novels published before the year 1800 do. So this is putting a change, right, at the year 1800. Okay, when is the 1800s? So the 1800s are the 19th century. But they're saying that in the late 19th century, that's when the change happens. So this is the wrong time. This is the wrong era. We don't want it to happen at the very beginning of the 19th century. We want it to happen near the end. So they're giving you the wrong year. Now, I think that people will get this wrong because you don't know what the 19th century is. And that's not acceptable. You are in 11th grade, presumably. You have taken enough history classes that you've referred to different centuries. And you should know that, yes, it's a little confusing of a system, but the 1800s are the 19th century. We are living in the 2000s, but that is the 21st century. It's easy here. So yeah, it's a little weird that it's kind of off by one, but that's just the system we've used. So that's no excuse. You're old enough, you should have figured that out by now. It's like left hand, right hand. You just got to know. That's just the way it goes. So that is the wrong time. It is the wrong conclusion. So B, novels published after 1880, so that sounds like the late 19th century, contain significantly more references to activities occurring after 10 p.m. than do novels from earlier periods. So there's a change happening. We can analyze that change a little bit more deeply. Why would there be more events after 10 p.m. After electricity? Well, because there's light bulbs and then things are lit. So there's more light at 10 p.m. Normally you got to go to bed because you can't see anything. So that seems reasonable, but let's look at C and D. Among novels published in the 19th century, implied time references become steadily more common than clock phrases as publication dates approach 1900. So as we approach the end of the 19th century, we are going to have more, of these implied time references. So that's kind of referencing times of day, like meal times and things like that. That doesn't seem likely, right? I mean, the whole point, in what way basically is electricity contributing to that? I would think that the clock phrases would be more common later on because most clocks, are going to be electric powered in some way. And so people are going to use clocks more because they have the electricity to do that. So this is backwards, but it does take a little thought of just what effect would electricity have? There you go. D, the time references of noon and midnight are used with roughly the same frequency in the novels. Well, that just sounds like they're saying nothing matters, right? There is no change. So this one doesn't even come close. I feel like B and C are the two where we're really debating this kind of change. I maybe throw A in there if you're just not paying attention to the years at all, but they're definitely different, right? 1800, 1880. My hope is that you wouldn't just pick A and move on, that even by the time you get to B, you'd be like, oh, wait a minute, the year might matter here. So that's why we always have to read every choice, is sometimes that we realize something was wrong with a previous answer because then the next few answers give us some clues. So always look at everything. But I think this is an easy question. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. But I think this is much easier than a lot of other stuff in the test. And so this would be one I hope that you would have had the time to target.